Hello everyone, welcome along to our Christmas DIY pocket tutorial. Thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you're all really well. I hope you're starting to feel a little bit Christmassy and maybe you're starting to get organised and start decorating your homes. That's really what these pockets are all about, just a way to add to the Christmas styling in your homes and outside your front door, in your kitchen, wherever you want to put your kits. I really appreciate you ordering them. They've just gone absolutely mad. I am scruffy today, excuse the hair. So many orders have gone out today and yesterday and the day before. So I'm a little bit late filming this tutorial because it's just gone a little bit wild. My husband has been in Australia for a month and was back yesterday, and my 3 children are now tucked up in bed, so I'm going to start and take a breath and go through each of the pockets and show you how to put them up, how to look after them, where I would suggest styling them in your homes or outside on your front door, and what else. So yes, we've got 2 different types for Christmas. We've got the Picea, or the Christmas trees, in a few different sizes, which you're all loving, so I'm so happy about that. And then we've also got the beautiful hellebores as well, in a few different sort of pots and a few different kind of layouts and styles as well. So I will take you through those afterwards, but first of all we're going to start straight away with the Christmas trees. Now, we've got 4 different sizes. We've got the mini, which is just here. We've got the small, which is here. And then we have the medium, which is behind me, where I've just kind of chucked some lights on it. And then the large, which is just next to it, the tallest one, obviously. And they all come in the gorgeous Bergs Potter raw terracotta pots. You'll see here, this one is kind of quite pinky in colour, so this is brand new. I got this out of the box on my way back from the studio this afternoon. This one here is actually one of mine. I actually use it to put my makeup brushes in my bathroom. They look lovely in there. I love it for makeup brushes, and you could put your toothbrush in there if you've got that kind of like nice rustic kind of bathroom. So you'll see here that this one has gone a slightly different tone because it's a bit older, and the same goes with some of the other ones behind. Some of them are new, but some of them are my own, so they've aged, and hopefully you'll be able to see how beautiful the pots look as they get older and as you use them, as you take them inside, outside, and water them. You'll see that when you water, they sort of kind of go a bit ombre in colour as the water sort of permeates through the pot. But yeah, hopefully it just shows you how gorgeous they are. I know you've been loving them, so I'm delighted to use them again in our Christmas pockets. Okay, so let's begin. I'll start you off with the mini one. Now, I know lots of you have been loving this for your children's bedrooms. I know a lot of you have been using them or bought them for sort of shelf styling, for example, to go somewhere like that. So it's just like that little nod to Christmas. Comes in a nice sort of, I think it's a 9 centimetre pot. Yes, 9 centimetre. Really, really, really cute. I love it. And in your kit you will also have your gravel, your compost, and your 2 types of moss. So you've got the bun moss and the sphagnum moss. So pop your pot on top of the saucer before you start with your gravel. So adding in just a bit at the bottom. You can use all of it that I put in your kits if you want to, or just an inch or so is fine. I'm just going to put the tree in its pot. Okay, so that's probably about right. Then you take it out of the pot. Okay, rewind a second. I say you can take them out of your pot. Of course you can do that. But my thinking is, Christmas trees obviously for Christmas, and then come January or whenever you take all your decorations down, you're not necessarily going to want to have a Christmas tree in the house or outside your front door. But you can keep your trees and they will grow and they will last, and they probably will last until next year and beyond if you look after them. So if you want to, given that you're going to be using this tree for a few weeks, maybe, I don't know how I can even work it out, maybe 6 weeks, excuse the maths, 6 weeks-ish, why not leave it in its pot, its plastic pot, put it straight into the terracotta pot, and then add the moss on top, and then you can still water it, it's still absolutely fine, it will still thrive, but when you're ready to take your decorations down, you can literally just pop it out, put it in the garden, you can even plant it in the garden if you want to, but at least then you've got it somewhere easily transportable that you put outside, and then you can use your pot for something else, for your makeup brushes, or for something else that takes your fancy in January, some bulbs or herbs or something like that. So my suggestion would be to leave it in the plastic pot. Okay, so you've gone in with your gravel, stick your plastic pot in, super easy, and then with me, I don't actually need any compost, so I'm not going to bother. The compost is fine that it's in, it's nice and damp already because they've been in the outside the greenhouse for the past couple of weeks, so it's nice, probably will be actually still damp when it arrives to you. Then you can put in your moss. So this is the sphagnum moss, it's the sort of more two-tone, more kind of loose textured moss. So add that around the base of your tree, and then in little sections take your bun moss, which is this sort of green pillow moss is another word for it. Take off some of the root structure if you want to, and then again add little bits in. You can break it up and it just adds another texture, another dimension to your potted plant, and it just finishes it off beautifully. So that is the mini Christmas tree kit. I'll pop that there, and then I'll show you now the small. So this comes in the 18 centimetre Berg's potted pot. Again, I would suggest putting it in its plastic pot just so that you can then use it again when Christmas is over. Obviously completely up to you, you're more than welcome to take it out and plant it without the plastic. So pot on the saucer, add in the gravel, and then put in your plant. So easy. There we go. So the gravel is there for drainage, just to make sure that the roots aren't sat in water for too long. And then add in your moss, so starting with the sphagnum moss around the base. Of course, if you don't want to, you don't have to use the moss. If you like sort of a more natural looking plant, in terms of you want to see that compost, that soil kind of colour. So adding in some more bun moss. All the way around. And that's it. So that is your small Picea or Christmas tree kit. I won't pot up the other two because it is exactly the same, so I don't want to bore you with that. But just a bit of instruction in terms of how to look after your Christmas tree plants. They're so easy, you just need to keep them damp. So not soaking wet, you'll know if you've overwatered it because all the water will start pouring over the side of the saucer. So yeah, just water, if you've got central heating on, which obviously come December and late November we will, because it's going to get chilly, I would say water every sort of 3 days maybe 2 days if you feel like the soil is dry, add some more water in, sorry, and make sure you are watering the tree and not just the moss, because the water just needs to permeate right down into the root. Keep them somewhere coolish if possible, but it doesn't really matter, because you are just going to keep them indoors for the Christmas season, and then they'll go back outside where it's nice and cold and raining, and they'll be happy out there after Christmas has been and gone. In terms of styling, I really love how they look bare, just really kind of pared back, organic, rustic in the aesthetic, and that is how I had them in my head, how I, came up with the idea of putting them with no decoration. Obviously you can put lights on them. I know children love to hang sort of homemade decorations off the smaller ones. In fact, this is probably a good size for a child's bedroom as well, and you get more decorations on it. They also look incredible in threes, so if you went for 3 different sizes, so if you went for a mini, small and a medium, or a small, medium and a large, and cluster them outside your front door, that looks incredible. Or they make an incredibly beautiful Christmas tablescape. So if you're having people for dinner, or even for Christmas Day itself, I do think that there's sort of quite an unusual, although obvious, sort of tablescape idea. I think it's quite a nice talking point. But yeah, even as place settings, if you wanted to give everybody a miniature tree with their name on it, if you're having a beautiful Christmas dinner, and as sort of almost like a token to take home, I think that's a beautiful idea as well. So they have it. There are the Christmas tree kits in mini and small, and then you've got the medium and large behind. I would love to see pictures of your trees at home, so please do send them in, and message me if you have any questions, of course. And now we will move on to our Hellebore Christmas kits. So we're now going to move on to our Hellebore pot kits. Hellebores have always been a really big favourite of mine. I love them. They are known as the winter rose. You can get them in lots of different colours, but I personally love the whites and the sort of kind of more fresher greeny whites, and this one which has got beautiful kind of burgundy mauve tints to it. They are an incredible plant really, because they are great outdoors. They love the cold air and the cold weather for Christmas, over Christmas time, but they also survive indoors really well. They flourish. So they're a really, really special plant that can be kept as a house plant, and I think they are just stunning for Christmas. So that's why I've focused on these as our pot kits for this year. This is the, remind me how to say it, Hellebore Valeria. Again, like I said, it's just that beautiful colour, that sort of tone of whites and greens with the mauve and burgundy. You'll get lots of tiny little buds, some open flowers as well, and I really hope you love it as much as I do. It comes in this sort of more unusual 18 centimetre Berg Spotted terracotta pot. It's a beautiful shape and works really nicely with this plant. So again, in your pot kit you will get your gravel and your compost and your moss and your pot and your saucer and your plant. So first off, pop your pot onto your saucer, and then take your gravel and add that into the bottom. Okay. Now, as I said before with the Christmas trees, if you want to just leave it in its plastic pot and pot it into the pot, you're more than welcome to do that. It will work perfectly fine. It will provide really good drainage, and then if you want to, in January, February, where you might think that you want something more spring-like, and so, but you don't want to throw the plant away, because why would you? It's then easier to sort of take out and then put it into the garden, because these will grow beautifully in January and February in the garden. So obviously completely up to you. What should I do? Should I leave it in the, I think I am going to leave it in the pot. Yeah, I'm going to leave it in the pot. It's fine. I think it's actually a better way of doing it. It's also easier and less messy. So I've put the gravel in. That still provides that level of drainage. So that's still important. I'm just going to see how it sits in the pot. I want it to go a bit lower down. So let's see. Probably a bit too low there. Right, see if I can get it out again. If I gently pull it. Okay. So I'm going to add some compost in here. Just to get it up a little bit so that it's up to the level that I want it to be. Do you know what? I'm going to plant this one. So that, because I didn't plant the Christmas tree, so I will plant this one. So hopefully when it comes to it, it will still be quite damp, but if not, give it a nice drink and you'll see the beautiful root structure. Really nice chunky roots on the hellebore. And then pop it in. So as I was saying, I want it to be slightly lower than the pot rim, and this is. But then I don't necessarily want to add any more compost because I want it to sort of sit just below. You'll see that there are some really gorgeous tiny little buds that start really close to the base of the plant. I'm then going to add in my moss, and hopefully by putting it slightly lower, your moss will then just sit flush with the pot. So, and now this is important, you do need to be quite careful because of all the little buds. It's definitely something you want to take your time with. So just gently pop the moss around the base, being careful not to sort of crush any of the little buds. And then so that's the bun moss, and then going to add some of the sphagnum moss in the gaps. The sphagnum moss is probably actually a little bit easier to use. It's a bit more lightweight in its structure, so it's less likely to crush anything. So if you've got like a sort of a sticky spot where there's a lot of bud, maybe go in with the sphagnum moss there rather than the kind of chunkier bun moss. So there you go, that's all potted up. So to give you some tips on how to look after your hellebore, keep it damp, not overwatered, and I would say similar to the Christmas trees actually, and maybe every 3 days. Ideally, keep it somewhere cool-ish, so not sat on top of a radiator or you know, I don't know, somewhere really warm in direct sun in the south-facing room. Ideally, keep it as cool as you can, but it will still do really well inside. And yeah, keep it nice and damp, and I hope you enjoy your large hellebore pocket. So our next pocket is the Hellebore Trio pocket. So in this kit you will receive your white Christmas Carol hellebores, which I have here, and your 3 Bergs Potter pots, which are slightly taller than the normal Castle raw terracotta pots that we have from Bergs Potter. They're really, really lovely. Again, I've used these for the mini Christmas trees. They're a really versatile pot. You will also have your gravel, your compost, your moss, and your birch twigs and dried thyme as well. So that just adds a lovely texture and finishes off the kit. So to pot up, you need to add in your gravel. Okay, and then so it's completely up to you. I'm going to leave these in their plastic pots for this. Again, I sort of touched on it before. It's completely up to you. It's more just that these are, in theory, garden plants that do really well in the home. So after Christmas and come January, February, if you feel like you want to change up and you want to put something new in your pots, you don't want to throw the pot away, the plants away, so you can just plant it in your garden. So that's why it's probably easier to keep them in their plastic pots, because then you can just transport them into the garden much quicker and much easier and with much less mess and faff. And it also means that you keep your pot nice and clean and ready for whatever you want to use it for next. So the gravel's gone in, you simply pop your plant in its pot. It's as simple as that. Now these work really, really well on a shelf, as a tablescape, on a windowsill, ideally not south-facing though, I would say. It's probably a little bit too hot. But yeah, they're a really versatile kit. You can spread them out throughout your home, so you can have one in your kitchen, one in your living room, one in your bathroom or beside your bed. They work really beautiful actually beside, in a guest bedroom if you've got people coming to stay and you want something as a sort of a bit of a decorative welcome for them. Pop one either side of their guest bed. They just look really, really lovely. So once you've popped the plant pot into the terracotta pot, you can then go in with your moss. So you won't need a lot at all, and you'll see, as I said, with the Valeria hellebore that we've just potted up in the bigger pot, you need to be very mindful of the tiny little buds that are around the base of the plant. So I would say use the moss sparingly to make sure that you're not squishing any buds. But yeah, just go with whatever you think looks nice. You might find that there are bigger spaces for the moss, and then in others they're a bit more buddy, so you wouldn't necessarily want the moss there. And there you go. So that's the moss. And then we have the birch twigs and the dried thyme. So take some scissors or secateurs, or with the thyme you can actually just snap it with your fingers, but I'll go with the birch first. That's the sort of the brown sort of twiggier one, and just gently break that down into sections. And again, with this, when I sort of came up with the ideas for the pots, I didn't think about having loads and loads of twigs and making it really twig heavy. It's more just sort of touches. So I probably would go in with just one or two in each pot. That's quite a big one. With the idea that then it's just a nice sort of delicate bit of texture. It's not overwhelming the hellebore at all. Maybe you might have some left over and you can use them in something else. Use them on your Christmas tree or something. And then with the dried thyme, just use your fingers for this because it just snaps off like that. And again, just a little touch in each one. Again, obviously, if you want to, you can use all of it, but I just prefer it to be a little bit subtle so that it's not overbearing and it is more about the hellebore. So there you have it, your hellebore trio kit. And then in terms of looking after it, keep the soil damp, keep the plants away from direct heat, so radiators, south-facing sun in a room, sorry. So yeah, just keep it well watered, not soaking wet, and hopefully it will bud and then bloom, and then come January, February, you can pop them all into your garden. So the next kit that we have is the hellebore planter kit. Now, I say this about every pot, I think. Sorry, it's probably really annoying, but this comes in one of my favourite pots, which is the Helena planter pot. It's a really lovely shape. in that you can fit a little bit more in, do a little bit of a kind of a mix if you want to. But in this case, we're going for 3 of the hellebores in the white Christmas Carol variety. And the pot comes with its lovely matching sauce, so it's got this beautiful kind of scalloped detailing around the top. And yeah, again, as with all the pots, once you've moved the plants on, or you put them in a garden, or you've decided that you want to change it up and use something else, it's just a really, really versatile pot to have. So in your kit, as ever, you will have your gravel, your plants, your compost, your moss. In this case, you've got your birch twigs and your dry thyme, and of course your pot. So let's start planting up this planter. So add in the gravel to the base. So go in with all of the gravel that you get in your kit. And then we'll plant up. With this, I would suggest taking the hellebores out of the plastic pots. I know in the other 2 pot kits that I've just been through, I've said that you could leave them in their plastic pots with the idea that you can then easily transport them into the garden. You can still transport them into the garden if you potted them up without their plastic pots. It's just not as sort of simple and easy just to kind of take it out of the pot and put it in the ground. It's just a bit, I suppose, a bit more messy, and the root structure will be a little bit more sort of established. But with this planter, it's definitely easier for you to plant when you don't have the plastic pots in place. So after your gravel, you can start to add in your plants. So gently take them out of the pot. They'll hopefully be quite damp from when they arrive from us, but if not, just give them a nice drink. And you'll see they've got the most beautiful root structure. And then one at the back. And then that just slots in there as the 3rd one. And then after you've put your plants in, you can then start adding in your compost. So the compost basically just goes in the 3 gaps in between the plants. Nice and sort of compact if you can. So as you're going along, compact it down. I tend to put sort of most of it in, compact it down, and then move around with the idea that then you can go back once all the plants have kind of been positioned in how you want them. Again, compacting that compost down to reduce any air pockets. And then see how it looks. Are you happy with how sort of the direction the blooms are facing? I've got mine all, when I turn it around, all front facing, because that way if I popped it on the side or on a shelf or something like that, you would see them all at the front. If you're doing it for table decoration, for example, you might want to try and see if you can kind of twist your plants so that they're all facing outwards in sort of the directions that if you were all sitting around the table, if that makes sense. So then go in with some more compost in the 3 areas that you've just been filling. And then compact that down. And that is it for planting. And then now you can add your moss. So you'll have your bun moss and your sphagnum moss as well. So again, I would say I would just add the moss in those 3 sort of areas that we've just added the compost in. Mainly because they are bigger spaces, so you can actually fit your moss in, but also because then you're not risking adding any sort of chunky moss to where the tiny little buds at the base of the plant are. You can add a bit of sphagnum just dotted around any sort of bits of compost that you see that you want to sort of hide with the moss. But yeah, just doing it quite gently, just being mindful that you've got those new buds developing at the base of the plant. Okay, so that's the moss. And now we will add in the birch twigs and the thyme. So again, as I've said with the trio kit, the idea of this is just to kind of add a sort of another dimension, another texture, not necessarily to sort of overwhelm it and, you know, be all about the sort of the twigs. It's just that kind of really subtle way of adding a little bit of texture. So again, being quite gentle when you place them down. That's a nice one. And then you can add in your thyme, your dried thyme. So the dried thyme is kind of consists of more woody sort of stems and then possibly a little bit of foliage, but it will all be dried. Again, just adds a really lovely texture to your pot kit. And you can just snap this really easily. You don't need any secateurs or scissors. Okay. So, in terms of upkeep and looking after your planter, as with all the other hellebores that we've gone through, you need to keep the soil damp. So water every sort of 3 days, unless you've got your central heating on really high, in which case I'd probably go with little and often. Keep an eye on the soil, making sure that you're watering the soil and not the moss that surrounds the base of the plant. Yeah, so keep it damp, keep it out of direct sunlight, keep it away from radiators, keep it as cool as you possibly can, given the fact that you will probably have your central heating on. They will do really well inside. They're a great sort of garden houseplant, but they will also do really, really brilliantly in January and February. If you want to change your pot up and put something else in it, you can plant them in the garden and they will do really well. They love the cold, crisp temperatures of winter, hence why they're called the winter rose. So yeah, I really hope you enjoy your planter hellebore kit. Okay, so for our final pot kit, you have the little hellebore pot kit, which features this beautiful white Christmas Carol hellebore, this gorgeous 12cm Simona pot with its beautiful detailing. It's ribbed along the sides and then with these gorgeous bobbly sort of bits along the top, and then a matching saucer with the bobbly bits around the edge of the saucer, and then the little feet on the bottom. So it's a really lovely pot and plant combination. You will also have your moss, your compost, your birch twigs and your dried thyme and your gravel. So to begin with, oh, but it's worth mentioning as well, you might receive a 9cm pot, which is just really simple because it fits, it's smaller than this, the 12cm pot, or you will receive a 12cm, which they're not actually any different in terms of the amount of green and buds that you get. It's just a different size pot. I don't really understand why they come different in different sizes, but hey. So if you receive a 12cm, which is the one I have here, you will need to take a little bit of the compost off the top around the plant, because for some reason it's really loose compost. It doesn't actually need to be there, because you'll see all these lovely little buds that then come to life. So add in a little bit of your gravel just to act as the drainage. on the bottom of your pot. Take your plant out. Ooh. So you'll see it's quite a lot of loose compost. So if you just take off a little bit around the top, and then you can also just tease the roots a little bit, because you might find they're really, really tight. This gives them the opportunity to drink a little easier, because this is a really tight root ball there. Okay, and then it should, just go in. And then you just gently compress it down. And then with the 12 centimetre pot, you don't need to add any of the compost, but with the 9 centimetre, you'll just need to add a little bit in on top. And then you can add in your moss. So, as I've said, and probably bored you with on the other hellebores, just be careful with putting too much of the heavier bun moss, which is this one, because of the tiny little buds that you'll be able to see around the base of the plant. So it's best to break up the bun moss into little bits and just gently sort of tease them in. And then in any gaps, you can then add the sphagnum moss, which is the sort of two-tone moss, in any areas where you see the compost. But again, being mindful and careful of the little buds that are growing at the base of the plant. Okay, so that's the moss in. Lovely. And then now we can pop in the twigs. So you've got your birch twigs, which you can just break down into little sections. Completely up to you how tall you want them to be, whether you want them to be sort of in line with the plant, or if you want them to be taller. And then just adding them gently in, again, being mindful of those little buds that are growing at the base of the plant. And just add a few stems. You can try, if you're gentle, to sort of actually push them into the centre. And then add your dried thyme in. We're going to go. Say be gentle. That's around the edge, so we're okay. We've not got any buds. And there we go. That's all in, so that's all potted up. So giving you, as same with all the other hellebores, some tips on how to look after your little hellebore kit. Ideally keep the soil nice and damp, keep them away from radiators and sort of south-facing rooms where the sun is really bright during the day. They'll do beautifully on a sort of a windowsill as long as it's not south-facing, on a shelf, as a tablescape, amongst other things that you might want for your Christmas dinner, or for when you're having friends over for drinks. Where else could you put them? Over top of a fireplace, as long, when the fire's not on. But yeah, it's a really versatile kit because it's nice and sort of diddy. It just adds that kind of really lovely Christmassy festive feel, but it can go pretty much anywhere. So that is your little hellebore kit. So that's it for our Christmas collection. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I will be releasing some new kits for Christmas, but they won't be released until sort of later on in December, because they will be more focused for specifically the Christmas table. So just things that I think are fresher that you would want for your Christmas Day tablescaping. But then in the same breath, you could absolutely use these for your tablescapes. We have delivery dates up till could be the 21st of December, I think. So if you wanted to order these for your Christmas tablescapes, by all means, they would look beautiful. You know, a combination of the Picea, the Christmas trees, and the hellebores just would be exquisite. So if that's, you know, what you'd like, then do go ahead and order. The December kits will be more sort of amaryllis based and more sort of traditional Christmas sort of florals and things like that. So yes, that is the plan for December. If, you know, I haven't crawled into bed and stayed there. It's a busy time, obviously, for florists, so but it's the best time of year. So I really hope that you've enjoyed these kits. Please do tag me in any photographs that you take, or if you put them on Instagram, please tag us and send me any questions that you might have. Would love to hear your feedback, and yes, I hope you enjoy.